Welcome to another edition of Biro Sports Talk. I'm your host, Biro. And as always, I took some time, got some of the shares out there. Facebook, for some reason, does not want to allow me to share the video like I would normally would. But here we are, going live once more. So, lots to talk about. Let's start, of course, with the NFL, like we normally do. Now, for those who are at home wanting to know what to pick, hey, last week was an easy week to pick. I was 12-4. I am 129-72 overall. That's a 65%, which is pretty good when you're supposed to be about 50%. I think 65 is pretty good. Pretty good at guessing. But this week, once again, here we are. Tonight, you have the Chargers and the Raiders. I'm going with the Raiders. I really hope they win this because they're going to be an interesting team if they make playoffs. On my schedule, there's a couple games scheduled for Saturday. I'm just going to double check. Make sure that's a thing. I find it weird that it's a Saturday games. Excuse me. Ugh. Yep, there are two Saturday games. You got the Bills and Broncos. I'm picking the Bills in that one. The Bills are pretty good. And the Broncos are not so much, yes. And in the evening, you have the Panthers at Green Bay. And I think Green Bay just owns. Green Bay's, if they win, they're going to be 11-3. They're still fighting for one seed. And remember, this year, the one seed is the only team that gets the bye. All right, here comes the next interesting part. So San Francisco versus Dallas. I'm choosing San Francisco. I'm a little torn on that game, only because it seems weird that both these teams are very bad this year. One's 5-8, one's 4-9. But I just think the Cowboys' defense is that bad. Thus, the 49ers getting the win, even if they have to run the ball with Mostert and Wilson. Seattle at Washington. I'm going Seattle. Seattle's got the firepower to blow teams out of the water. The one that should be interesting, after picking the Bears to beat the Texans, even though I wasn't confident at all in the pick, here I am picking the Bears over Minnesota. I mean, it was a close game last time, if I remember right. But the Bears just need a fire, and I think last week you got that fire where Trubisky was just playing unbelievable. If he continues to lead and play very well, he may have saved his job in Chicago. Are we happy in Chicago? It's debatable. If we make playoffs, we'll be even more happy. So Miami, New England at Miami. Let me tell you, I went with Miami. It feels weird, but even with Brady, occasionally they could win at Miami. I still remember when they put Gronk as like a safety and they scored a touchdown to win the game. So, Miami. Jacksonville, Baltimore. Interesting two teams here. Going Baltimore, they're just a more well-rounded team. Especially when Lamar Jackson is actually in. Trace McSorley, I didn't do so hot, but again, he's a backup. Tampa Bay at Atlanta. I think Tom Brady wins, keeps putting his team in the playoff hunt. They're one of the top wild cards, so it's even better. Looking at Detroit at Tennessee. I think Tennessee wins that. I do think Detroit plays well, but I think Tennessee wins. Houston at Indianapolis. I think the Colts win that one. They're well on their way. They could win the division if Tennessee slips up. That would be nice. It's not a bye, but it's you have bragging rights then. So again, not bad. I think Indianapolis gets that one. Philadelphia, woo-hoo, born and raised, not really. Arizona, your 4 o'clock games. I'm going Arizona. I have no faith in these Eagles. I don't know how they won over New Orleans last week. I mean, you could say it's Jalen Hurts, but I don't think it was. I just think they got lucky, and any team can win at any given time unless you're named the Jets. Speaking of Rams versus the Jets are away. That just makes it more friendlier to pick the Rams. The Rams got that. The Rams trying to hold off the Seahawks, I believe. Man, if only my schedule's matched up, you know. Yeah, so the Rams, Seahawks are tied. That'll be an interesting race down the stretch. I do think the Chiefs beat New Orleans in your last 4:30-ish game. Pretty much primetime game for midday. It is in New Orleans. There's rumors Drew Brees is going to be back. I think the Chiefs get it, though. I just do. I think the Chiefs get it. Your primetime game, you got the Browns versus the Giants, and I think the Browns are just going to destroy the Giants after falling just short of beating Baltimore Ravens. And I think they're in the right projection right now. They played very well against the Ravens. They just fell short. And of course, your Monday night Steelers, Bengals. I think Steelers run away with that one easily. Only because Joe Burrow's not there. If it's close, though, your fantasy teams might get a little boost, but we'll see how Ben Roethlisberger and the gang goes. Very interesting week, especially with those games. What does everyone think? Any disagreements? No? Okay. I mean, that's what it is. We should be, before we transition into college, we should actually be getting some memorabilia put up soon. I'll brag more when it's actually up, because I have to say my wife is amazing. She got me something very, very cool. And I still have no words for how cool it is. That's how stunned I was when I saw what she got me. You'll hopefully will see it next week. But let's move to college sports. So college, right now you got probably the most controversial college football playoff rankings ever. It's very young still in its stages, but even the AP and the coaches seem to be better in a sense. So let's be honest. You're a one-loss team. You're a no-loss team. But yet, you're put behind 2 loss teams. So let's go in order, and then I know some of you already have opinions formed, but let's go in order. So you got your Bama, you got your Notre Dame, you got Clemson, you got Ohio State, you got Texas A&M, Iowa State, Florida after a crushing loss. I watched that kick. Oh my goodness, I thought it was going to be good, and we're going to overtime, and wide left in the fog. Georgia is 8. Cincinnati is a questionable 9. Oklahoma's 10. Indiana's 11. Coastal's 12. USC's 13. Northwestern's 14. North Carolina's 15. A 3-loss team at 15. That seems high. That's still close to where they hover around, which is 15, 16, but seems high. Iowa's 16. BYU, the 10-1 team, at 17. Miami's at 18 after losing big to North Carolina. I mean, big. See, then you got the Ragin' Cajuns at 19. Texas at 20, another 3-loss team. NC State at 22, a 3-loss team. Tulsa is at 23. 24 is San Jose State, who's 6-0. Going to be playing Boise for the Mountain West Championship. Boise 5-1, but not ranked. Colorado rounds out the college football playoffs at 25. So the storylines going into this weekend that are ever so important. Ever so important. You got Bama versus Florida. That would be the one that causes chaos. I think Alabama gets it done, though, and we could put Florida to rest. Notre Dame, Clemson, another one that pretty much can decide a lot. If Notre Dame puts Clemson away, I think we put Clemson to rest. There might be an argument that Clemson stays, but I think they drop for sure. Ohio State just has to beat Northwestern. If they lose, I think they are out, though. With that 5-0 record everyone's complaining about. They should have 3 more games, but, I mean, you can't penalize a team for having COVID cancellations. Texas A&M, I forget who they play, but they do have a game this week. I think it's Ole Miss. Which is, again, this is the strangest year for college football. Oh, no, it's Tennessee. You got the wrong team. They play the Tennessee game this week. They were supposed to play Ole Miss, but it got postponed. But they play Tennessee. Tennessee, not terrible, but not a great team either. Iowa State plays Oklahoma, both 2-loss teams. In a normal year, they're out. They're just out. The thing that's just so disrespectful, and I still hate it looking at this, you see Cincinnati at 9, and they're getting penalized for not playing because of the COVID outbreaks. Cincinnati is a well-deserving. Every other ranking system has them like 6th or higher. You got to put them up there. They should be up there. There's no excuse to why they're not up there. Indiana should be probably higher. Yeah, I get that. But there's too much respect. Because they put Iowa State 6th so that if Oklahoma beats them, Oklahoma can jump. I don't see Iowa State. How can you have Iowa State 6th and the Ragin' Cajuns 19 when the Ragin' Cajuns beat Iowa State? Coastal's going to beat the Ragin' Cajuns the second time. I think they're going to go undefeated. What happens then? That's 3 ranked teams they beat. Because they would beat the Cajuns twice. They would beat BYU. What do you make of a 12-0 Coastal Carolina? I mean, San Jose State's one that's intriguing me because Mountain West used to be such a respected conference. And here I am staring at their undefeated San Jose State at 24. Boise's on the outside looking in, but they're 5-1. There's just there's a lot of bias in this college football ranking system. And honestly, I hate to say it, it's very annoying. As a fan of the underdog, I've been saying UCF should be getting a bid anyways. And this year is a prime example why we need 8. We need 8. You get your SEC, your ACC, Big 10, you get your Big 12, and you get your Pac 12. Right there's your 5 conferences, the 5 power conferences, and then you get 3 at large. In a normal year, it'd be Notre Dame, it'd be Texas A&M, and it could be Florida. But it could also be Cincinnati, who moves up in the last rankings. That's why 8 is such a better number right now. And it's just a lot of... I think there's better teams that they're not ranking high than what they're giving credit for. And that's because they're not traditional power, and that's why this system fails us. This system fails us because no one's on equal playing field. Everyone always ranks these teams before the season. It's just crazy to look at, think about. I think there's a lot of disrespect for Cincinnati and Coastal. There's way too much SEC bias. If I'm looking at the top 10, why Georgia, Florida, Texas A&M, Alabama, 4 teams, really? You think those 4 teams deserve to be there? Man, it's weird. It's a weird year. It's weird looking at all these different teams as well. Because I look at it and I'm like, well, the Big 12 has a lot of teams too in there. Big 10 really only has like Ohio State, North. Got a few people more than I thought. There's a few more than I thought. But it's like 4. Big 12, I think, has 4. ACC has a lot more. You know. It's they got to fix this college football rankings. We'll see how it plays out this weekend. Because as I said, this weekend there's a lot of different championships that could determine what happens. And of course, the most likely of it all are the ones that just require a win. You got to win and you're in. Tomorrow you got the Pac-12. I mean, USC is looking to go 6-0. That would be huge, that game. If you go to Saturday, Ohio State, Northwestern, of course. Texas A&M plays Tennessee, which I think is a worthless game. I think Ole Miss would have been better. Oklahoma, Iowa State in the Big 12 Championship. Sun Belt Championship, Louisiana and Coastal. Clemson, Notre Dame in the ACC Championship. Weird seeing that Notre Dame could potentially win a conference championship. That's what COVID does. It makes it weird. Mountain West Championship, of course, like I said, San Jose State, Boise. You got Tulsa, Cincinnati for the American Athletic Conference. You got Bama and Florida for the SEC. And you got a lot of canceled games as well. But outside of the top 25 that I listed. The MAC championship is also going to be played. I believe, yes, it's tomorrow, 7:30. You got Ball State and Buffalo, 5-1 and 5-0. Another intriguing winning teams. Marshall's 7-1 playing UAB and the USA Championship. And there's, of course, a lot of other games because I'm looking now. That's why Ole Miss is playing LSU. Cool. Anyways. Yeah, you got Minnesota and Wisconsin, yada, 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 Illinois, Penn State. Yeah. Yada, yada, yada. That's a lot of yada, yada because there's so many cancels. But that's everything about college today. Of course, I like to end it with some basketball because I love basketball. Basketball is really my favorite sport. It's just football. It's that time of year. But next week's pretty much. Next week starts the NBA season. Crazy to think about. Will James Harden be traded? Who are we looking at? They're going to expand the rosters, which is a good idea for a COVID season. If I had to make one prediction about the NBA season, one prediction, I think, let's think about this. I think the one prediction I would bank money on, I want to say the Warriors make it to the playoffs. I'm not saying they do much in the playoffs or do anything, but I'm going with the Warriors makes playoffs. Well, thank you, everyone. I am happy to have music again, even if it is Christmas right now. Christmas music. Hopefully there's more options soon. I know there are other genres. They just wasn't for me. But thank you, and see you next week. I don't know if it's going to be Wednesday or Thursday, but I'll let you know.